Hello and welcome to my channel. Hi, I'm Wendy J. Haney. Today I'm going to show you how to make the quarter square triangle. That's what this block is, in case you wondered what the heck they called it. A large triangle on one side of it and then two quarter square triangles on the other side. You will find this in a variety of patterns, and the tricky thing with this is depending on how your pattern is laid out, you may need it. All of your blocks might need to look one way. For example, this way where your orange is on your left and your yellow is on your right. And other times you need it where they rotate on you. These are considered mirrored blocks where your fabrics are flipped. This is a mirrored quarter square. So be aware of that as you're looking at your patterns and what are needed. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do this to potentially end up with what you need. Okay, so in this video, I am going to show you a way to make this, a pair of mirrored quarter square triangles. This method, you need one block each of your quarter squares and one block of your larger triangle. This method is also going to leave you with one extra half square triangle of your orange and yellow pair there. Okay, maybe you don't care. Maybe you can use that elsewhere. Just be aware of that. The other method is going to allow you to make I keep moving my blocks around, a set of 4. In this situation, it is 4 blocks. You don't end up with this spare half square triangle hanging out there that you're not going to use. It is a pair of mirrored blocks, but you have 2 of them. Therefore, you end up with 2 blocks that are identical. I know, kind of weird here. In this situation, once again, we need our 2 fabrics for our quarter squares, but to get 4 of them, we need 2 of our green, our larger square triangles, okay? And then you don't end up with an extra half square triangle out there. Then I have another method where, well, I need them all to be the same. I need them all to be this. I don't want mirrored, I want them identical. This method allows you to do 4 of them. It's really a little bit tricky how we're doing it, but in that case, once again, we need 1 each of our orange and yellow and 2 of our green. But the way we sew things is going to end up with that. And then the final method is, oh, wow, well, I need them all over the place. I have 4 fabrics and they're just, I need a variety. Like this. Well, now what? Got you covered. I'll show you how you can do these as well. Okay, so you're going to want to keep track of the chapters that I put below so that you can jump to where you want. The first video, though, is going to walk you through all the details, and some of those details you're probably going to want later. I'm hoping to cover all of it in each portion, but if not, the first video will do that. So our first video, I am going to use 4 blocks, and I am making a 4-inch finished block, which means I need to be working with 5.5-inch squares. And in the link below, it will show you a link to get the template that gives you the sizes depending on what your finished block is. The math is finished size plus 1.5 inches. And this is the trim up method, because trimming up is so much easier because things don't get skewed and you're going to have better accuracy and not have to worry as much about your placement, your 1/4 inch, your cutting. but it will help with that. I've already pre-cut these. There is a link up above here and in the description of my video where I walk you through how to cut fabric. I did a lot of strip piecing with this just because I wanted lots of blocks to play with for this video. Okay, so let's get started. We have our two 5.5 inch squares of our quarter square portion of our block, and what we're going to do is take one of them. I'm using my yellow, and I've actually already marked it, but you're going to take that block and mark corner to corner. I just use a mechanical pencil in this case because this is going to be our cutting line, not our stitching line. So draw corner to corner on the back of one of your fabrics. I'm going to put right sides together. And you're going to go to the sewing machine and stitch a 1/4 inch on either side of that line. Okay, we're going to do that, and then when you come back, what we're going to do is cut that. So you stitched a 1/4 inch on either side of that, and then cut on the line. And this is going to give you your 2 half square triangles of the fabric that is for the quarter portion of your fabric, of your block. Okay, I mentioned that you could be using 1 green block or 2. If you wanted to use just 1 block of your green, and because this is going to give you 2 mirrored pairs. It's going to give you a pair of mirrored blocks, but it's also going to waste 1 of your half square triangles. Okay? If you're okay with that, then what you're going to do is you're going to press your half square triangle, and then you're going to cut it in half. Okay? And I kind of pre-did these. So there you go. Now you've got one of your half square triangles cut in half. You're going to take your green block and you're going to cut it in half on the diagonal as well. You're going to place each of your quarter portions, your 2-piece triangles, on top of your larger triangle, right sides together. Now, if you want to be super particular, you can fold your larger triangle in half, get a little mark there, and then line the seam of your 2-color triangle on top of that. You have plenty of wiggle room here. This is why we're doing oversized squares to start with. And the other thing is this keeps it super simple because all of your blocks are going to be exactly the same size. In my case, 5.5 inches. So you're going to do that, and we're going to put this on there. And then you're going to go to the sewing machine and stitch a 1/4 inch on either side. And then, well, it's going to be that. And then we're going to have to press it and trim it up. Okay? So this method here, by cutting your larger block in half and your half square triangle in half, you're going to get just 2 mirrored blocks finished. Okay? Not my favorite method because I end up with this straggler half square triangle out there that I might not need. Okay. That is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to set that aside. The method we're using is we started with 2 of our green fabrics. So in this case, once we have our half square triangles, we have 2 of those, and we have 2 green blocks. Excuse me. Once you've pressed that half square triangle, should have done that. What you're going to want to do, and you're going to want to wait until you press it before doing this, you're going to mark corner to corner on the back of that. Once again, I'm just using a mechanical pencil. Oh, having a heck of a time with that. I should go get my marker out. I think it needs new lead. There we go. There we go. So now I have my half square triangle marked. You're going to do this on both of them. You're going to put your green square right side up, and you're going to put your half square triangle on top of it. Just center it in the middle. Try and get the seam of that corner to corner and your line corner to corner and kind of right in the middle. As I said, this is why we're going oversized, because it makes this easy and you don't have to stress too much about it. Now, once you do that, pin it so it doesn't shift on you. And you're going to have 2 of these, just like this. And now you're going to go do exactly what you did when you created your first half square triangle. Stitch 1/4 inch on either side. I have my seams sewn on either side of my line, and so we're going to just cut on the line that we drew. And there you go. You now have 2 oversized 1/4 square triangles. Okay, and as you can see, they are mirrored. So if you did the method where you used 1 block of green and cut it in half, this is what you're going to end up with, along with a spare half square triangle of your yellow and orange. If you, on the other hand, made used 2 blocks of green, this is what you will have. You will have 4 blocks, and they are all ready to be trimmed up. There you go. So they're pretty straightforward. Before trimming up, make sure you press your blocks. I have already pressed these. Excuse me, losing my voice today. The important thing when trimming these up is to know what position to put things on your ruler, because you want this to stay corner to corner on your finished square and this to end up in a square. I like my OmniGrid ruler because it has my diagonal, excuse me, 45 degrees line. I am working with a 4-inch finished block. That is my ultimate goal, which means this needs to be cut to be 4.5 inches. Okay, put your diagonal on your seam, and then whatever your finished block size, your unfinished block size is, in my case it is 4.5 inches. I need my 4.5 inch mark to be right there at the intersection of my yellow and orange, my 1/4 square side of this 1/4 square triangle. Dang, that's a mouthful. Making sure my seam stays on my line, okay? There should be no situation, unless yours are totally kittywampus, to not have enough fabric to trim. See, we're not trimming off a lot, but this makes everything more accurate. See, I had it this way. I trimmed here and here. We flip it. So now this is a solid line that I know is accurate. So I should be able to put my 4.5 inch right on the edge of that. My 4.5 inch should hit right there at the point of that quarter square triangle intersection, and the 45-degree angle on my ruler should still be on my seam. Okay, double check that. Make sure it's all accurate as you press down and trim off the rest of this. Okay, there we go. Trim up all 4 of them, or 2 of them if you went the method of cutting your green square in half and only working with 2 finished quarter square triangles. In this case, I'm going to have 4, and they're all trimmed up and perfect. There you go. Oh, but wait a minute. You wanted 4 identical? Okay, now we want to do 4 identical blocks. Let's do that. In this case, we're going to still start with the same things we did before. 2 green and 1 each of the colors for our quarter square. The difference is how we mark and stitch the quarter square triangle blocks. This one is really unique. I'll admit, found this online and thought, oh, wow, okay, that's kind of slick. Once again, I am taking my yellow and putting it on top. And actually, let's grab a different one that I haven't marked. This case, we are not going to do corner to corner. Get out your magic wand, Quilter's magic wand. What we want to do is we want to draw lines a 1/4 inch from center, okay? Now, if you don't have a Quilter's magic wand, that's okay. Just take your normal ruler and put your 1/4 inch line, and you are going to need a longer ruler. Well, you get it here. You're going to put your 1/4 inch, there we go. Your 1/4 inch, corner to corner, and get that accurate, and then mark on that line. Okay, I'm going to flip around and use my magic wand. So I'm going to put that corner to corner and mark. Okay, flip it. You're going to do the same thing the other corner. So you're adding 2 lines in both directions. Unlike the other scenario, these are actually partially going to be lines you're going to stitch on. I will have some images that's going to help you here. Okay, there are your markings on either side. And then, you know what I did? I also threw in the very middle block, I created an X in the middle. This is going to kind of help you also. Grab your other square, and you're going to put them corner on top of each other. Now, you're going to take, this is where it's really unique. You're going to take this to your sewing machine and position it in this direction, because your first stitch, you're going to come down here and stitch on the line that you sewed all the way down to the middle. The middle, so a 1/4 inch past that other line, which is why I drew this other line in here. 1/4 inch down, and then you're going to go into the middle. Actually, you're going to go in and across, and then stitch on the line over here. So you're going to go down, over across the middle, and down, okay? When you're done with that stitch line, we're going to flip it and do the same thing, but on the other one, you're going to come down, over, and down. And I'm going to do this with 2 different color threads and show you each way. This is my first seam. You can see it here in the green thread. I came down from the top, over to the middle, and then down on the other side. Because we're working with oversized blocks, If it's not exact, that is okay. My line, my stitching is not perfectly on my line. That's okay. That's why we got some wiggle room with this. Now I'm going to take this and flip it, and I'm going to go back and stitch here to the middle and over there. So this time you can see with my orange thread, I came down, over, and down. Okay, we have our stitching done. Then we're going to do just like we did before, is we're going to cut corner to corner. And yep, you're gonna cut over there, that middle. And guess what we have now? We have 4 of our quarter sides, and they're all identical. Okay? Now, well, obviously, in order to make this work, we're going to need to cut our 2 green blocks in half. And I'm going to just cut one of them here to show you. Cut our green in half. You're going to take one of these double triangles and make sure you press these before you move to the next step. If you want, fold your green triangle in half, mark the middle, put your seam of your other one on that, and sew a 1/4 of an inch. And you're going to do that on all 4 of these, and then, well, then we're going to trim them up, just like we did before, and you're going to have 4 identical 1/4 square triangles. You should now have 4 of your 1/4 square triangles all ready to be trimmed up. And so you don't have to go back to the other section if you jumped to this. I'm going to show you how to trim it up. We are working with a 4-inch finished, 4.5-inch unfinished block, which means I take my Omni Grid ruler and I put the 45-degree angle on my seam between the large and the 1/4 side. And then here at the point of my 1/4 square side, I want that to be at my 4.5-inch mark, the size of my unfinished triangle, keeping this on the seam. So sometimes that takes a little wiggling, and this is why you also want to make sure your blocks are fully pressed cleanly before doing this. Then you're going to flip it around. This now should be an accurate straight seam, an accurate straight cut that should be aligned with your 4.5. So you could put your angle back on. This corner should be exactly at your 4.5-inch mark here. Oh, and I shifted a tad. Bad on me. It's all right. I'm good. I'm good. Reposition. There we go. That happens. It does. Just you handle it. Okay, there we go. I now have a perfect 1/4 square triangle. And what I'm going to end up with is 4 of them that are identical using that method. Little more marking, but I thought that was pretty slick. And I have a theory, because I'm guessing somebody's going to ask me this, because, I'm thinking it. What if I wanted my orange over here? How do I make sure that happens? I confirmed my suspicion. So as I was making all of my 1/4 square triangles, they were all showing up like this, or the mirror image of it. Okay, great. That means that orange was always sitting over here. Well, on one side of the pair, so hold on. Why didn't I grab my other pair? There we go. There's my other one. As we were working with them before, we were getting mirrored pairs. One like this, one like that. You're like, okay, great. And then I showed you how to make 4 identical, and all 4 ended up like that. And you're thinking, yeah, but what if I want to force my orange to be on the other side? Well, here's the deal. Whichever fabric you have on the top when you're making your quarter square stitching for the set of 4, whatever one you have on top is what will be on the left side. So I always was doing my marking on the yellow fabric because it's the easiest for me to show you the marking. But if I flipped it around and had my orange fabric on top with the yellow on the bottom, I ended up with 4 of these. So there you go. So play with that when you're doing your 4 at a time that are all identical, so you know which fabric is going to be on the left. Whichever fabric is on the top when you're sewing things together is going to be on the left-hand side of those quarter square triangles. Okay, there we go. Now, the last thing. What happens when you want a whole bunch of different ones and you want things in different positions? And there's 4 fabrics. So in this case, I'm messing with 4 fabrics. And I happen to want to have, in this scenario, 4 different fabrics, and each one of my blocks, I want to have one of the 4 fabrics as my larger triangle. And then the others are going to go on my small triangles. Okay, that's fine. What we're going to do is work with my four squares of fabric. I am still working with 5.5-inch squares because I want a 4.5-inch unfinished block. What you're going to do is you're going to cut every single one of these in 3. First of all, cut them in half. Then take one, so set the larger triangle aside. That is going to be for your larger triangles. And then for all of your little quarter ones, you're going to cut the other side in half. I always put a line on my ruler on the cut, put the other at the top of the point, and there we go. So we're going to do this quick. I'm going to just get one more of these cut so I don't have to do another merge of a video for Mr. Kevin. Make it a little easier on him. Okay, there we go. Now, well, this isn't, yeah, dang nabbit, sorry. I'm gonna need one more. One more cut here. I should have had the rest of these all ready to go, but somebody suggested I show more cutting. Okay, so I'm showing more cutting. Okay, so now we have those. Then you can take 2 of your small triangles, put them together, sew your 1/4-inch seam. Then when that's done, you're going to put them on top here, just like we did before. This is exactly like what we've been doing through this whole video. The only difference is that you're starting with 2 of your little squares, and you have to sew those 2 little triangles, sorry. You have to sew those together first before you can sew that block onto your larger triangle. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. You trim it up the same, And this way, this method, you can play with rearranging things however you want. I highly would suggest, if you have a specific layout you're working with, like you're going to see in the video I do next month, to use a coloring template and lay it out and figure out, okay, how many of these do I need of the large triangle of what colors, and how many of my little ones? Because maybe this piece you just cut in half because you don't need any little triangles. All depends, but at least now you know how you can play with it depending on what your needs are if they're not so structured. Hope you found that incredibly helpful. And if you're really lucky and life works good for me, I'm hoping I have a blog post for you for this as well, to walk you through all of it in a blog post. Otherwise, you can pick up the template at least that has the coloring template and the cut measurements that you need to determine what size squares you need to cut depending on what your finished block size is. Hope you found this helpful. Take care, and thank you so much for watching.